The mining laser's rhythmic pulse echoed through the cramped asteroid base as Marcus Rodriguez wiped sweat from his brow, pausing to examine the alien artifact they discovered buried deep in the rock face 3 months ago. The cylindrical device, no larger than a coffee can, hummed with an energy signature that defied every principle of physics he'd learned during his 15 years as Earth's leading propulsion engineer before his exile. His team of 12 fellow outcasts, brilliant minds cast away by Earth's colonial authority for reckless experimentation and dangerous theoretical pursuits, had been analyzing the artifact with growing excitement and terror. Jessica Mitchell, their quantum mechanics specialist, had theorized that the device operated on principles that bridged dimensions, while David Thompson, their materials expert, discovered that scanning it had somehow altered the molecular structure of their equipment in ways that shouldn't be possible. The asteroid belt of Kepler 442 had become their prison 5 years ago when Earth's government decided their innovations were too dangerous for controlled society, but now this alien technology promised to transform their exile into the galaxy's greatest opportunity. As Marcus activated the device's interface using their cobbled-together translation protocols, holographic blueprints materialized in the air, displaying starship designs that made humanity's most advanced vessels look like paper airplanes. The propulsion systems alone operated on principles that could fold spacetime, while the defensive matrices seemed to manipulate matter at the quantum level, creating barriers that could theoretically withstand the force of collapsing stars. Lisa Patterson, their former weapons systems designer, gasped as she recognized energy distribution patterns that could power entire planets, while Robert Chen, their electronics genius, traced connection pathways that suggested computational power exceeding Earth's entire network infrastructure. The implications were staggering. Whoever built this technology had transcended the limitations that kept galactic civilizations bound to conventional physics, and now 12 exiled humans possessed the blueprint to join their ranks. As alarms suddenly blared through their makeshift laboratory, Marcus realized their unauthorized deep-core mining had triggered something. Seismic readings showed massive movement in the asteroid's interior, and thermal sensors detected energy signatures spiking beyond their instruments' measurement capabilities. The alien device began projecting additional schematics, revealing not just single ship designs but entire fleet configurations, manufacturing processes, and resource requirements that perfectly matched the mineral composition of their asteroid home. Outside their pressurized habitat, automated mining drones that had been dormant for decades suddenly activated, beginning excavation patterns that followed the projected blueprints with uncanny precision, as if the alien technology was awakening the asteroid's hidden purpose as a shipyard. Through the observation deck's reinforced windows, they watched in amazement as the asteroid's surface began reshaping itself, revealing massive construction bays and resource processing facilities that had been waiting for the right activation sequence. The realization hit them simultaneously. They weren't just the discoverers of alien technology, they were its intended inheritors, and their exile had positioned them perfectly to become the galaxy's newest and most dangerous power. 6 weeks after the asteroid's transformation into a fully operational shipyard, Marcus Rodriguez stood on the bridge of their first completed vessel, a sleek predator of metal and energy they'd christened the Prometheus, watching as its systems came online with capabilities that still made his engineering mind reel in disbelief. The ship's hull, forged from materials that phase-shifted between solid matter and pure energy, gleamed with an opalescent sheen that seemed to bend light around its edges, while its propulsion core hummed with the power of a contained star that drew energy from dimensional folds Jessica Mitchell had mapped using the alien blueprints. Their maiden voyage was supposed to be a simple test run to the outer edge of the Kepler system, but as they emerged from their first hyperspace jump, a journey that should have taken 3 days completed in 17 minutes, proximity alarms immediately began screaming warnings about incoming vessels. Through the view screen, 5 massive warships materialized from subspace, their angular designs and crimson energy signatures marking them as Zephyrian Empire patrol cruisers, each one bristling with enough firepower to level a small moon and displaying the distinctive Skull and Nebula insignia that struck fear throughout this sector of the galaxy. David Thompson, monitoring their communications array, reported that the Zephyrian commander was demanding immediate surrender and identification, clearly assuming they'd encountered some kind of experimental refugee vessel from one of the rebellious outer colonies. The lead Zephyrian cruiser, a kilometer-long behemoth called the Skull Render, powered up its main batteries and fired a warning shot that would have vaporized any conventional ship, but as the crimson energy beam struck the Prometheus, their defensive matrices simply absorbed the blast and converted it into additional power for their own systems. Marcus watched in fascination as Lisa Patterson's weapon systems displayed readings showing they could now fire their main cannon with triple the normal energy output, thanks to the Zephyrian attack feeding their power core. The alien patrol commander's confusion was evident in his increasingly frantic transmissions as his ship's sensors failed to penetrate the Prometheus's adaptive shielding, while their own targeting systems showed impossible readings suggesting the human vessel existed in multiple dimensional phases simultaneously. When the Zephyrians launched their full assault, a coordinated barrage from all 5 cruisers that could have destroyed an entire fleet, the Prometheus didn't even register the impact, its hull phasing through solid matter while its quantum barriers redirected the energy into subspace rifts that opened behind the attacking vessels. Robert Williams, their navigation specialist, calmly announced that their experimental displacement drive was ready to demonstrate its capabilities, and with Marcus's nod, he activated a system that folded space around their ship, causing the Prometheus to appear instantaneously in 5 different locations around the Zephyrian formation while somehow remaining in its original position. The enemy commander's panic was audible over their communication channels as their instruments registered 6 identical vessels where logic insisted only one could exist, each displaying the same impossible energy signatures and each capable of independent action despite sharing the same quantum consciousness. As if to emphasize their technological superiority, Jessica engaged the temporal distortion field that allowed them to accelerate their perception of time while the universe around them slowed to a crawl, giving them the leisure to study the Zephyrian vessel's weaknesses and plan their response while their enemies remained frozen in desperate confusion. When they returned to normal temporal flow, Marcus opened a communication channel to the lead Zephyrian vessel and calmly informed the commander that his ships were now tagged with quantum markers that would allow the Prometheus to track them across any distance or dimensional barrier, effectively making them permanent subjects of human observation. The Zephyrian fleet, faced with technology that transcended their understanding of warfare itself, began an immediate and chaotic retreat, their subspace communications arrays flooding the surrounding star systems with priority alerts about an impossible human vessel that had just redefined the balance of power in the galaxy. The Zephyrian patrol's frantic subspace transmission rippled across the galaxy's communication networks within hours, carrying news that would shatter the established order of interstellar politics and send shockwaves through every major alien civilization in known space. Admiral Korvax of the Zephyrian High Command initially dismissed the reports as combat stress hallucinations until similar accounts began flooding in from merchant vessels, deep space reconnaissance units, and even the Empire's most classified intelligence operations, all describing encounters with human technology that operated beyond the theoretical limits of physics itself. The recording of the Prometheus existing in multiple locations simultaneously while phasing through solid matter was authenticated by the Empire's top scientists, who confirmed that such capabilities would require mastery over dimensional mechanics that even the legendary ancients had never achieved. Within 72 hours, the intelligence networks of the Confederation of Stellar Republics, the Hegemony of 1,000 Suns, and the Crystalline Dominion had all intercepted the Zephyrian reports, triggering emergency council sessions as each empire realized that a new player had emerged with technology that could reshape the galactic balance overnight. Meanwhile, on their transformed asteroid base, Marcus Rodriguez and his team watched these developments unfold through intercepted communications while their automated shipyard worked around the clock to construct a fleet that would make their first vessel look primitive by comparison. The alien blueprints had revealed progressive design tiers, each one building upon the last to create increasingly sophisticated vessels, and Jessica Mitchell's analysis of the dimensional mathematics showed they were barely scratching the surface of the technology's true potential. Their second ship, the Icarus, incorporated improvements that allowed it to exist partially outside normal spacetime, making it effectively invisible to conventional sensors and immune to most forms of attack, while the third vessel, Odyssey, featured a consciousness interface that linked directly with its pilot's mind, creating a fusion of human intuition and alien computational power that exceeded both components individually. David Thompson had discovered that the shipyard's fabrication systems could adapt and evolve, learning from each completed vessel to optimize future constructions, which meant their fourth ship would be superior to their third, and their 10th would transcend anything they could currently imagine. The breakthrough came when Robert Chen realized that the alien technology wasn't just building ships, it was building a living fleet where each vessel shared quantum entanglement with the others, creating a collective intelligence that grew stronger with every addition to their numbers. As word of the human vessels spread, reconnaissance fleets from multiple empires began converging on the Kepler system, each one hoping to capture or destroy the source of this impossible technology before it could threaten their established dominions. The Confederation dispatched their elite 7th Fleet under Admiral Sarah Reynolds, a force of 30 battleships equipped with experimental weapons designed to penetrate any known defensive system, while the Hegemony sent a task force led by War Commander Thaxul, whose bioships had conquered 17 star systems through sheer evolutionary adaptation. Lisa Patterson monitored their approaches through the fleet's expanded sensor network, which now extended across multiple dimensional planes and could detect movement patterns weeks before conventional sensors would register any presence. The most concerning development came from the Crystalline Dominion, whose hive mind collective had begun treating the human emergence as an extinction-level threat, mobilizing their geometric dreadnoughts in the largest military deployment since the War of the Broken Moons 3 centuries ago. As these various alien forces positioned themselves around the Kepler system like predators circling prey, Marcus and his engineers made a decision that would either establish humanity as the galaxy's newest superpower or result in their complete annihilation. They activated the shipyard's final construction protocol, a process that would transform their entire asteroid base into a mobile fortress while simultaneously launching 12 identical vessels, each one equipped with the most advanced systems their hybrid technology could produce. The alien blueprints had revealed one final secret: the technology they discovered wasn't designed to create individual ships but rather to birth an entire spacefaring civilization, complete with mobile cities, dimensional gates, and weapons that could rewrite the fundamental laws of physics within localized space. As the first alien scout ships entered the system's outer boundaries, their long-range sensors detected energy signatures emanating from the asteroid that defied classification, while the humans prepared to demonstrate that Exile had transformed Earth's most dangerous engineers into something far more threatening than any alien empire had imagined possible. The convergence of forces around Kepler 442 would either mark the beginning of a new age of human dominance or become the site of the most one-sided massacre in galactic history, but as their expanded fleet powered up systems that bent reality itself, Marcus Rodriguez allowed himself a smile at the irony that Earth's attempt to contain their dangerous innovations had inadvertently positioned them to become the most dangerous force in the galaxy. Admiral Sarah Reynolds of the Confederation's 7th Fleet had built her reputation on surgical precision strikes that eliminated threats before they could mature, and as her 30 battleships dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler system, she expected this operation to follow the same pattern: identify the human facility, overwhelm it with concentrated firepower, and eliminate the technological threat before it could spread beyond containment. Her flagship, the Sovereign Justice, led a formation that represented the pinnacle of Confederation military engineering, each vessel armed with antimatter torpedoes capable of cracking planetary crusts and shields that had withstood the fury of stellar phenomena, while her tactical computers had already calculated firing solutions that would reduce the asteroid base to component atoms within minutes of engagement. The plan was flawless, tested against every known defensive system in the galaxy, but as her fleet approached the coordinates where intelligence reports had located the human facility, her sensors began registering readings that made no logical sense. Instead of a single mining asteroid, they detected a mobile complex the size of a small moon, surrounded by what appeared to be 47 distinct vessels, each one displaying energy signatures that exceeded her flagship's output by several orders of magnitude. Commander Jake Sullivan, her chief tactical officer, reported that their targeting computers couldn't lock onto any of the human vessels because they seemed to exist in multiple dimensional phases simultaneously, appearing solid one moment and translucent the next, while their movements defied inertia by stopping and starting without any visible propulsion systems. The asteroid base itself had transformed into something that looked more like a living organism than a constructed facility, its surface covered with geometric patterns that pulsed with bioluminescent energy, while massive hangar bays opened and closed like breathing organs, releasing additional vessels that materialized from what appeared to be folded space. Admiral Reynolds ordered her fleet to maintain maximum distance while she attempted to comprehend what they were facing, but her caution proved insufficient as proximity alarms began screaming warnings about energy buildups from the human vessels, not the focused beams or projectile weapons her experience had taught her to expect, but something that seemed to be altering the fundamental properties of space itself around her fleet. The first indication of their technological disparity came when one of the human vessels, a sleek craft barely a tenth the size of her smallest destroyer, casually passed through the Sovereign Justice's shields as if they didn't exist, emerged from the other side of the ship's hull without causing any damage, and then transmitted a polite message requesting the Confederation fleet's immediate withdrawal from what humanity now claimed as sovereign territory. Before Admiral Reynolds could respond, her sensor operators reported that all 30 of her vessels were now tagged with some kind of quantum marker that allowed the human ships to track their exact location, shield frequency, weapon charge status, and even the crew's biological signatures through methods that transcended every stealth technology in the Confederation's arsenal. The demonstration of absolute surveillance was followed by something even more disturbing. The human vessels began replicating themselves, each ship somehow splitting into multiple identical copies while maintaining full functionality, creating a fleet that grew from 47 vessels to over 200 in the span of minutes. Marcus Rodriguez's voice echoed across the Confederation communication channels, calm and professional as he explained that their exile had given them time to perfect technologies that made conventional warfare obsolete, and that the assembled alien fleet surrounding their system represented no more threat to them than insects buzzing around a star. To emphasize his point, the human fleet simultaneously activated what they called a reality anchor, causing space itself to solidify around the Confederation vessels, trapping them in crystallized spacetime while remaining completely mobile themselves, a demonstration that they could selectively control the fundamental laws of physics within localized regions. Admiral Reynolds found herself facing a tactical situation that had no precedent in military history, an enemy that could phase through matter, replicate infinitely, manipulate spacetime, and track her forces through dimensions she didn't know existed, all while maintaining the casual demeanor of engineers discussing a routine maintenance procedure. As her ships hung motionless in crystallized space, helpless as insects in amber, she began to understand that the Confederation hadn't encountered a conventional military threat. They had stumbled upon a civilization that had transcended the limitations that defined galactic warfare itself, and her 30 battleships were about to become the first demonstration of humanity's ascension to a level of technological superiority that would force every alien empire to reconsider their position in a universe where the laws of physics had become humanity's playthings. The crystallized spacetime around Admiral Reynolds' fleet dissolved as suddenly as it had formed, but before she could process her tactical options, her communications array erupted with emergency transmissions from across the galaxy, reports that would shatter every assumption about human capabilities and transform the political landscape of known space forever. Lieutenant Commander Michael Torres at the sensor station confirmed what the incoming messages described. Identical human vessels were appearing simultaneously in over 50 star systems, each one materializing without warning in the heart of major alien installations and demonstrating the same impossible technologies that had paralyzed the Confederation fleet. The Zephyrian capital system of Kronos Prime found itself host to 3 human ships that passed through their orbital defense platforms like ghosts, while the hegemony's fortress world of Belgrath watched in horror as a single human vessel replicated itself into a formation of 20 ships that proceeded to rearrange the system's asteroid belt into geometric patterns for no apparent reason other than to display their mastery over matter itself. At the crystalline dominion's hive nexus of Tessara, human ships had begun broadcasting mathematical theorems that solved computational problems the hive mind collective had been working on for centuries, casually offering solutions to dimensional engineering challenges while simultaneously demonstrating that they could predict and counter every defensive measure the crystalline entities deployed against them. Admiral Reynolds realized with growing dread that the humans weren't just technologically superior, they were operating on a scale that made galactic civilization itself seem like children playing with primitive toys, as reports flooded in of human vessels appearing inside the most secure facilities in known space, walking through force fields that could contain stellar plasma, and accessing databases that were protected by quantum encryption keys that should have taken millennia to crack. The most disturbing development came from the neutral trading hub of Nexus Station, where witnesses reported that a human ship had somehow existed in the station's bar, its captain, a woman named Jennifer Walsh, calmly ordering a drink while her vessel occupied the same physical space as the station without causing any structural damage, explaining to terrified patrons that humanity had learned to phase shift through dimensional barriers that alien civilizations didn't even know existed. Captain Brooks Harrison of the Confederation intelligence vessel Shadow Hunter transmitted from the Outer Rim that human ships were appearing in uninhabited systems and terraform entire worlds in minutes, reshaping planets with the same casual efficiency that conventional civilizations used to modify small asteroids, while simultaneously broadcasting invitations for any displaced populations to establish colonies under human protection. The scope of their technological demonstration became clear when Dr. Angela Mitchell, no relation to Jessica Mitchell on the human engineering team, from the Galactic Research Institute confirmed that quantum resonance patterns indicated the human fleet wasn't just appearing in multiple locations simultaneously, but was somehow existing across multiple timelines and dimensional phases, allowing them to interact with past, present, and potential future versions of galactic events. What terrified the assembled alien leadership most was the realization that every demonstration felt effortless for the humans, as if they were barely utilizing a fraction of their capabilities while casually rewriting the fundamental rules that governed interstellar civilization. Trade routes that had operated for millennia suddenly found human vessels providing faster-than-light courier services that reduced journey times from weeks to hours, while conflict zones across the galaxy watched human ships appear between warring fleets and somehow convince both sides to cease hostilities through methods that transcended conventional diplomacy. The reports painted a picture of a civilization that had not only mastered technology beyond alien comprehension but had evolved beyond the competitive mindset that drove galactic politics, approaching other species with the patient condescension of adults dealing with quarreling children. As panic spread through alien space and emergency councils convened on every major world, the human vessels began transmitting a simple message across all communication frequencies: humanity was prepared to share their technological advancement with any civilization willing to abandon aggression and embrace cooperative development, but they would no longer tolerate threats against their sovereignty or their chosen territories. The offer came with a demonstration that left no doubt about their ability to enforce their terms. Every major military installation in the galaxy simultaneously detected human ships materializing within their most secure facilities, remaining just long enough to download complete tactical information, and then vanishing before any defensive measures could be activated, leaving behind only quantum signatures that proved the intrusions had occurred. Admiral Reynolds stared at her tactical displays showing human vessels departing from the Kepler system while simultaneously maintaining their presence there, realizing that her fleet had just witnessed the emergence of a post-scarcity civilization that viewed the galaxy's current power structures as temporary inconveniences to be gently corrected rather than serious obstacles to be conquered. The emergency summit on the neutral world of Concordia brought together representatives from every major galactic power for the first time in recorded history, as species that had warred for millennia found themselves united by a common terror that transcended their ancient grudges and territorial disputes. Chancellor Victoria Harrison of the Confederation sat across from War Commander Thaxul of the Hegemony, while the crystalline avatar of the Dominion's hive mind projected itself into the chamber alongside delegates from 47 other civilizations, all struggling to comprehend reports that painted humanity as a force beyond conventional military response. The assembly watched in stunned silence as Admiral Reynolds presented her tactical analysis, explaining how human vessels had demonstrated the ability to manipulate spacetime itself, exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously, and replicate endlessly while maintaining full operational capability, technologies that made their combined military might look like stone tools compared to antimatter weapons. The Zephyrian delegation, still reeling from the humiliation of their patrol fleet's encounter, provided intelligence showing that human ships could phase through any known defensive system, absorb energy attacks to power their own weapons, and track targets across dimensional barriers that even the most advanced stealth technology couldn't breach. Dr. Marcus Thompson, a xenobiologist with no relation to the human engineering team, presented his analysis of the terraform demonstrations, revealing that human technology could reshape entire planets in hours through methods that suggested they had learned to program matter at the quantum level, essentially treating physical reality as a malleable resource rather than a fixed constraint. The most chilling revelation came from the Crystalline Dominion's computational analysis, which indicated that every human demonstration had been performed with minimal energy expenditure, suggesting their true capabilities remained largely hidden beneath layers of technological restraint that implied power levels approaching those of mythical cosmic entities. As panic threatened to paralyze the assembly, Supreme Admiral Catherine Brooks of the United Defense Coalition proposed the only response that seemed remotely viable: a coordinated strike using every available warship from every participating empire, concentrating their combined firepower on the human asteroid base before their technology could spread beyond containment. The plan represented the largest military alliance in galactic history, bringing together over 12,000 vessels from civilizations that had never cooperated on any significant scale, their combined fleet powerful enough to sterilize entire star systems and equipped with experimental weapons that pushed the boundaries of known science. Within weeks, the assembled armada converged on the Kepler system under Admiral Brooks' command, representing not just military might but the desperate hope of species facing potential obsolescence in a universe where humans had apparently transcended the limitations that defined civilization itself. The attack commenced with a synchronized assault that would have reduced a small galaxy to constituent atoms, as wave upon wave of antimatter torpedoes, dimensional disruptors, and reality-warping weapons struck the human position with enough force to crack the foundations of spacetime itself. For 17 minutes, the combined alien fleet maintained a bombardment that drained the energy reserves of entire star systems, pouring destruction into the target zone with the fury of a collapsing universe, while their sensors registered impact signatures that should have vaporized anything within 1,000 light-years. When the weapons fire finally ceased and the energy dissipated, the alien commanders stared in disbelief at tactical displays showing the human installation completely unharmed, its surface not even scorched by attacks that had momentarily destabilized local physics, while the 47 human vessels remained in perfect formation as if nothing had occurred. Marcus Rodriguez's voice came across their communication channels with the same calm professionalism he displayed throughout their demonstrations, thanking the Alien Alliance for providing such an excellent test of their defensive systems and noting that their shields had automatically converted the incoming energy into power for their manufacturing processes, allowing them to complete construction on 3 additional vessels during the bombardment. The human fleet then proceeded to demonstrate technologies that shattered the last vestiges of alien confidence, ships that existed backwards through time to prevent attacks before they were launched, weapons that selectively edited the laws of physics within target zones, and defensive systems that apparently extended through parallel dimensions to draw power from alternate versions of reality itself. As the alien armada watched helplessly, human vessels began appearing within their own formations, not as attackers but as observers, their crews studying alien technology with the clinical interest of scientists examining primitive artifacts while politely requesting detailed specifications on propulsion systems and weapons arrays that they found charmingly inefficient. The final humiliation came when the humans began offering technical improvements to the alien vessels, broadcasting upgrade packages that could triple their speed, enhance their firepower, and extend their operational range, all while maintaining the tone of helpful neighbors sharing advanced tools with less fortunate friends. Admiral Brooks realized with crushing certainty that the greatest military alliance in galactic history had just demonstrated its complete irrelevance to beings who treated the fundamental forces of the universe as household appliances, and that continued resistance would only invite demonstrations of human capabilities that might accidentally erase entire civilizations through casual displays of technological superiority. The formal surrender came not through military channels but via diplomatic courier ships flying white energy banners, as the Galactic Alliance's most respected ambassadors approached the Kepler system bearing offers that would have been unthinkable just months earlier when humanity represented nothing more than a collection of exiled engineers scraping minerals from forgotten asteroids. Ambassador Elena Rodriguez, ironically sharing a surname with the human leader but representing the Confederation's diplomatic corps, transmitted the Allied Empire's joint proposal for immediate peace negotiations, complete territorial recognition of human sovereign space, and unprecedented technological exchange agreements that would fundamentally reshape the balance of power across known civilization. Marcus Rodriguez, standing on the bridge of their asteroid base that had evolved into a mobile diplomatic facility complete with reception halls that existed in folded spacetime, reviewed the alien proposals with his engineering team while their automated shipyards continued producing vessels that made their original Prometheus look like a rowboat compared to a star destroyer. The irony wasn't lost on any of them that Earth's colonial authority had exiled them for being too dangerous to civilized society, yet their banishment had positioned them to become the most influential humans in galactic history, wielding technology that made their former homeworld's most advanced military forces look like museum pieces from a primitive era. Jessica Mitchell's analysis of the alien diplomatic overtures revealed the depth of their desperation. Every major empire was offering complete access to their scientific databases, territorial concessions that included entire star systems, and trade agreements that would essentially transform their civilizations into junior partners in humanity's expanding sphere of influence. The negotiations themselves took place in a conference chamber that existed simultaneously on 12 different worlds, allowing representatives from every major species to participate without the traditional concerns about neutral territory or security protocols, while human technology ensured that all communication occurred in real time despite the vast distances involved. David Thompson, now serving as humanity's chief technology liaison, presented the aliens with advancement packages that would revolutionize their civilizations, faster-than-light travel that could cross the galaxy in days rather than years, manufacturing systems that could create any needed resource from base matter, and defensive technologies that would make warfare between participating empires essentially pointless since no conventional weapon could penetrate human-designed shields. The terms humanity offered were surprisingly generous, reflecting their post-scarcity mindset where territorial expansion and resource competition had become obsolete concepts. Any empire that agreed to abandon aggressive expansion and embrace cooperative development would receive access to technologies that would eliminate scarcity, extend their citizens' lifespans indefinitely, and open up previously impossible frontiers of scientific exploration. Lisa Patterson, now Director of Humanities Defense Coordination, explained that their security requirements were minimal since no known force could threaten them, but they insisted on monitoring systems that would prevent conflicts between alien species from escalating into wars that might disrupt the peaceful development they envisioned for galactic civilization. The signing ceremony took place across multiple dimensions simultaneously, with each empire's representatives experiencing the event from their homeworld while participating in a shared virtual space that demonstrated humanity's mastery over reality itself, as documents materialized in quantum-sealed formats that could never be altered or falsified by any technology the aliens possessed. Robert Chen, now humanity's chief engineer for galactic infrastructure, outlined the development plans that would transform the galaxy over the coming decades: universal transportation networks that would make every inhabited world accessible within hours, communication systems that would allow instant contact across any distance, and terraforming projects that would create garden worlds from the most inhospitable environments. As the treaties were finalized and the alien fleets began their respectful withdrawal from human space, Marcus Rodriguez reflected on the extraordinary journey that had brought 12 exiled engineers from a backwater mining operation to the center of galactic civilization, their transformation from outcasts to the arbiters of interstellar peace accomplished through a combination of alien technology, human ingenuity, and the ironic gift of isolation that had allowed them to develop without interference. The final transmission from Earth's colonial authority arrived as the ceremonies concluded, a desperate plea for reconciliation from the same government that had banished them, offering full pardons and requesting access to the technologies that had made humanity the galaxy's dominant power, their message carrying the unmistakable tone of leaders who realized they had exiled their species' most valuable assets at the worst possible moment. Marcus shared the message with his team, and their unanimous response was to extend the same generous offer they'd made to every other civilization. Earth would be welcome to join the new galactic community as an equal partner, but the days when any single authority could dictate humanity's direction had ended the moment their exile began the transformation that would reshape the universe itself. As the human fleet expanded beyond the Kepler system to begin the work of building a post-scarcity civilization among the stars, the 12 engineers who had once been considered too dangerous for Earth society settled into their new roles as the founders of an age where technology would finally serve the dream of universal peace and prosperity.